Hi, and welcome to the Reiki from the Farm podcast, brought to you by me, Pam Allen-LeBlanc from Hidden Brook Farm. I am a scientist, a businesswoman, and a licensed Reiki master teacher with the International Center for Reiki Training. Each week in this podcast, you'll be entertained as you learn about a wide variety of relevant Reiki topics, helping you become a more knowledgeable and effective Reiki practitioner. We caution you, though, this podcast may also dramatically improve your life, and we are so happy that you're here.
And so welcome everyone to this month's Reiki Share and this week's podcast. This week or month, we are talking about healing the ancestry. This is something that's been coming up as a recurring theme. And so I just thought it would be really fun if we addressed that today. So before we begin, though, I would like to let you know about what we have coming up. Unfortunately, our Healthcare Reiki class this month in September, the evening class is full. There is a wait list. There are a few people on the wait list. If it's something you really wanted to attend, feel free to put your name on the wait list. You never know. Also, the number of people on the wait list will inform us that right now we're looking at the next class being in March. But I have heard from some people, oh no, that's too long. Could you do one sooner? So Tracy and I are going to compare our calendars tomorrow and see what we can do. So if there's quite a few people on the wait list, then it would tell us, yeah, try to have another one as soon as before in this year or early in the next year if you can. In October, I have a level 1 and 2 in masters in person at the farm, and the level 1 and 2 is in person at the farm and also online. And the Reiki Masterclass is online over the evenings in North America, which means people from Australia and Asia can more easily attend. I'm sorry for our European friends. It's a terrible time for you, but it also works really well for a lot of people from North and South America. Hopefully that will be helpful. Also, following that, the following weekend, October 25th and 26th, online and in person at the farm, is an Animal Reiki Level 1 and 2 training, followed by Animal Reiki Master Teacher online in the evenings that following week. And I finally have a Karuna Reiki class booked, if any of you have been waiting. That is November 17th to 20th in the evenings. And so it is an online class, and would love to have you join us if Karuna is speaking to you. Sometimes people wonder about Karuna. It is an advanced Reiki master class. So if you've been a Reiki master for at least 6 months and are guided to come to Karuna, consider joining us. It just amplifies the energy, and it seems to change a lot of things. I know it really changed a lot for me. So would love to see you there. I am just dipping my toe into working on the animal communication book, but I'm going to put this out there to you because once I make you a promise, I seem to keep it. My intention is, and I've kept this private because there's been a few times I've intended to finish the book and had to set it aside. My intention is to finish the book by our next animal communication class, which is November 22nd and 23rd. It is a weekend class online, and the animal communication level 3 class is just before the American Thanksgiving, November 24th and 25th, online in the evenings. And I did move the master class simply because I did have it over Thanksgiving. And so it is just the following week, December 1st to 3rd, online in the evenings. And so that's just after the American Thanksgiving. So I only teach animal communication a few times a year, especially at the master level. So if that's something you've been thinking about, plan to join us. I also want to announce that I spoke with the lady who is hosting me and asked me to teach in Kenya. and we put together a few more details today. The date is not finalized, but I will let you know just as soon as it is. It'll be in my newsletter, and I might even, because it's going to be between newsletters when we finalize it, I'll probably send out a special announcement for any of you who would like to come to Africa. What I was thinking is that Africa can be a daunting place to visit. And we are going into the heart in Kenya. And in fact, we are looking at doing a safari on the Masai Mara. And so it can be a big deal to travel that way. So this might be a way to travel there that is a lot easier for folks from North America or Europe or other places. And because it is going to be organized and we will have some things set up for you. And we are being hosted by someone who lives there and knows the lay of the land. So that can be really neat. And so one of the things we talked about is we might have a special Reiki share. We'll have it during the day because she's 6 hours ahead of us. So it's in the middle of the night for her, and she just can't do that, where we could really outline the program and talk through things. But right now, I'm going to be teaching a Reiki level 1 and 2 class, probably healthcare Reiki, and probably animal Reiki, 1 and 2. So 3 level 1 and 2 classes. And in between each class, we're going to do things like visit the giraffe sanctuary and see the elephants. And so there's a few things we're looking at. And then after the final class, we will head over for a short safari, which I think will be really interesting and potentially life-changing, is what I've heard. So that's coming together. Also, still looking at Hong Kong in September or October next year. Again, just finalizing the dates. And my calendar for 2026 has been finalized. So in the next newsletter, you will see the 2026 calendar aside from these travel dates. And also, I am looking in the new year to be putting together a special Reiki mentoring course for Reiki masters who want to mentor their students using the Reiki Business Book, and a special marketing course. So that's going to be coming. I say it's going to be in the new year. And now that I look at it, my January calendar is slammed. So it will be in the new year. It may not be able to be in January, but I will definitely take a look at that. And I also have set up my meetings with the artist and intuitive who is going to be helping me with the horse card deck on leadership. So I'm super excited about that too. So many amazing things going on. So before we go too far, I'd just like to invite everybody to bring your hands together in Gasho and just activate your own Reiki energy today. And I invite you to ask your favorite symbol. Think about what symbol is your favorite or your favorite right now in this moment, to just come between your palms, moving into your heart. And as it moves into your heart, it moves up through the top of your head, your crown chakra, and up through a chakra above your head known as the soul star, and through the Gaia gateway. And it also moves down through your lower chakras, and it both enlivens, empowers, and aligns all of these chakras. And as it moves through your feet and moving into the earth, it moves through what we call the Gaia gateway, your earth star and the Gaia gateway. And just allow that energy to travel all the way down, connecting you to the earth, all the way into the groundwater beneath your feet and the bedrock beneath the groundwater. If it makes sense to you, you can go beyond the bedrock until you get to the center of the earth. And just today in a session, it was revealed that hot lava, that hot magma in the center of the earth, that stuff that the earth is made of, is earthly holy fire. And so we've all been aware of the divine holy fire energy, but there is an earthly energy in the center of the earth that is also connected to or related to holy fire, and that is really interesting. And then just let the energy that has gone to the center of the earth start to come back up through your central channel, your left and right channels, and all the way up to into the galaxy, into the heavens. And at the same time, the energy of the heavens comes all the way down and goes into the earth. And these energies just start moving back and forth, passing each other until they create this beautiful tunnel of light. And this tunnel of light, at first, it's within you, but as they move back and forth, there's this synergy created, and they begin to surround you. And just feel yourself very protected and safe within this. And I also invite you to bring your own personal energy in now so that it just skims your skin. Just invite your own personal energy. Many of us, I go around with my personal energy 500 or 600 feet around me. And so I'm going to do the same thing. We're just going to pull that in, just asking the energy, just come in close to me now. And as it does, you'll notice that anything that's not yours, as it passes through this beautiful tube of light, it just drops out of your energy. Any cords or connectors that have hooked into you, any hooks, they're released now. Any energies that are not yours, any attachments, they're just let go of. And as you bring your energy in close and you're within this beautiful tube of Reiki energy surrounding you, sometimes we have frayed edges of our energies, just little places where they've become a little damaged, a little frazzled. You just notice that the Reiki energy starts combing out the tangles basically, and just weaving it back together in a way that is completely organic and natural. And if there are any pieces of yourself that you've left anywhere in trauma, in gatherings with people that you love, they're just returned to you now. They concentrate around you. They move through that tube of holy fire, Reiki energy. And it's okay if you don't have holy fire. We're tapping you into it just the same. And just those pieces are restored, lovingly placed where they belonged. And just take a deep breath now. And just feeling into that wholeness, that completeness. And I'm just hearing that this is a really important place to start from when we begin to heal our ancestral lineage from this nice, close space of wholeness and completeness. You are here, and so it is. And so just placing your hands over your heart now and just coming back in your own time. I'd like to talk to you about our topic tonight, healing our ancestors, releasing their burdens, and embracing the gifts. So I'm so excited to talk with you about this because it's something I've given a lot of thought to. And it's something that I certainly have some burdens from my ancestral lineage. We all do. Everyone does. And it's just It's been so lovely to address them. And I think I'm going to address them on an even deeper level with you all this evening. So, this is something that we're going to be doing together. The first thing I want to say about our ancestors is sometimes when we're carrying a burden that comes from our ancestors, it's hard to look beyond it to the gifts and all of the things that our ancestors intended to pass on because the burden was also passed on. Sometimes the burden is so heavy that it can be difficult to notice the gifts. And one of the things that I heard very early on in my licensed Reiki master teacher training with Colleen was she was just talking about the resilience of our ancestors. And it really made me think about it, just how strong they were. I think it's a hardship if my dishwasher is not working. And they literally had to, for the most part, farm all of their food. And I have a garden. I've worked on farms. I am an agricultural scientist. I know it, and I've worked the land since I was young. That's not easy. It's very time consuming. It's all consuming. They had very little religious freedom. In fact, there was a lot of persecution for anyone who went outside of very set lines. They didn't have all of the advantages of technology that we have. They didn't have all of the wonderful advancements. And I do want to say that these wonderful advancements that we enjoy, I can't tell you how much having a Roomba that cleaned up the dog hair for me each day so that I don't have to. I sometimes call that thing my best friend. And these were things they wished for us. They wished that our lives would be easier than theirs. And in fact, it is. The fact that in a lot of ways, we don't have to spend every waking moment preparing for winter and growing and gathering and storing our food. Some of us choose to do this, but most of us don't have to do this. They wanted that for us. They wanted for us all of these wonderful advantages and the freedoms that we have, the freedom to practice Reiki, things like that. These are things that they wanted for us, religious and spiritual freedom. And so we're actually living the life that they wished for us. And in that, they gave us a tremendous amount of gifts. And I always like to balance things in this podcast, the yin and the yang, the left and the right. And so we're not only going to be talking about the burdens and releasing it, we're also going to be acknowledging and recognizing some of the gifts that we got from our ancestors. And since I started diving into this topic, I've been a little bit conflicted because there are some people in my lineage who I deeply loved and admired. And yet there were things about them that I didn't admire and that actually even made me feel uncomfortable. And I know some of it was a product of our times, the fact that in their time things were acceptable that were not acceptable in my time, and things like that, that I know some of it was that. But I've really had to be thinking about this, and it can be really hard to think about some of those people that you love and think about some of the aspects of them that you didn't actually love. But this is something that we're going to unpack. And of course, as always, Reiki helps us unpack it in a really beautiful way. I want to point out that intergenerational trauma is something that is talked at in doctors' offices now, and by psychologists and by people everywhere. And as I mentioned when we were talking before we started recording, this is something that we've known about, this ancestors needing to be healed. It's something our Native American friends have known about for forever. They're very aware of the 7 generations before and after all of the ancestors. In fact, most of what I used to say, a Awasin, and I spoke with some of my Mi'kmaq and Maliseet friends and asked, what would I say in New Brunswick? And they said, all my relations. And I said, I didn't get permission to say that, but I did get permission to say a Awasin. So I did say that. And what that means, a Awasin means all my relations. So it's just an acknowledgement of your ancestors at the end of every prayer. And so many cultures are very aware of how connected we are with our ancestors. I work with students from China in the mentoring program with the ICRT, and there's just a real awareness of our ancestral lineage and how it connects us. And yet science just took a little bit longer to catch up. But now intergenerational trauma is very recognized. And I am going to tuck into the science in a little bit as well as we go through this. But I also want to mention something that Rebecca Campbell brought up in her book. I think it was Rise, Sister, Rise. And it's something fascinating that it never occurred to me. Every one of us, every one of you listening today or joining me in person, every one of us existed in our grandmother's womb. And I don't know why that never occurred to me, but as she explained it, our mothers were being formed in our grandmothers, and her eggs were being formed. They were fully formed by the time she was born. And so the egg that then united with a sperm and created each one of us existed. That egg was created by our grandmothers. And so it was very fascinating one day in a healthcare Reiki session with a client. The energy just went back through all the grandmothers. It didn't even have to stop at the mothers. It just went through grandmother. And I watched each person shrink to the size of a baby and then shrink to the fetus that was being created and then shrink to a spark of light and then go out and go to the next grandmother and the next grandmother. And it went all the way back to the original mother and did this incredible healing for him all the way back. And then it came all the way forward again through the grandmothers, which was fascinating that we can do something like that. So when Rebecca Campbell mentioned that, then Healthcare Reiki took and expanded it and did this incredible healing. So if that resonates with you, that's something that Reiki allows us to do, is to go back through that mother lineage. And we're also going to go through the father lineage as well, because I was told, no, don't keep it one-sided. Let's go through both. So that was really neat. So for this session, what we'd like to do is honor the gifts and free ourselves from the burdens that impact us and sometimes keep us small. Our goal, as I mentioned, is to heal both the mother and father line. And although our children, those of you who have children, they may have to walk their own path, this healing that we're doing today can also heal things forward for them as well. So, why does this matter? Why does ancestral healing matter? You're here, so I know that you know it matters, but here's a few things you might not have thought of. First of all, Reiki isn't limited by time or space, so the healing we do today can ripple back to our ancestors, and it's going to, and then forward into future generations. In healthcare Reiki, we notice that physical, emotional, and even spiritual struggles are sometimes and often connected to long-held family patterns. So it's these patterns that we're going to be releasing today. And Rebecca Campbell, in the seminar that I did with her recently, and just going through her books and her wonderful work, she teaches that we are the keepers of the flame. We are the generation chosen to heal cycles of suffering, reclaim the wisdom, and carry forward only what's in alignment with love. I keep hearing we are the generation that our ancestors have been waiting for, and that's been coming through in my sessions for years now. That's exactly it, and this is the time to talk about it. Now, for those of you listening after the fact, this might be a really great time to tell you that if you could queue up for music for our meditation, the songs, because I don't have copyright for them, so I can't put them on the podcast. But if you could queue up the songs that Rebecca Campbell has created herself from her playlist, Your Soul Had a Dream, Your Life Is It. And it's the three songs, Arms of the Mother, Unbound, Forever Unbound, and the Great Mother Chant. And so if you could queue up those three songs now, that would be a great time to do it. And you don't have to, you can just listen to the quiet music in the podcast. But if you can listen to those songs, I think it's going to amplify what we do today. I mentioned that I was going to dip into the science. You know that I always like to do that. And speaking of science, there is a science, the Center for Reiki Research does have a Reiki science conference coming up in a few weeks. And so check them out if science is something that you're really interested in, like I am. I'm going to be there. It's just an online event. They've got some fantastic speakers lined up, and I think it will be really great. So, when we go into the science, I did a podcast a few years ago with a medical doctor. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. I all of a sudden I had her name right on the tip of my brain, and all of a sudden Dr. Martha Lacey, and it left me for a moment with Dr. Martha Lacey about epigenetics. And basically, epigenetics is that we all have genes for almost every disease and all these conditions, but it's whether we turn on those genes or not. That is epigenetics. And it's a science that is recognized. And epigenetics has done studies that show that trauma and stress and even famine can alter our gene expression, and that then these changes can be passed down. For example, children and grandchildren of the Holocaust survivors often show increased stress reactivity. Research in Sweden found that grandchildren of people who endured famine were more prone to diabetes and heart disease. So there's now scientific evidence that what our ancestors experienced can pass on to us. We also have intergenerational trauma, things, emotional wounds, things like abuse, addiction, and war. There's a recognition in psychology that these echo across generations if they are unhealed. But in the same way, resilience is inherited. Neuroscience has been able to show us that joy, creativity, adaptability, resourcefulness also ripple forward. So it's really a great idea to take a very balanced approach with this. Now, this just simply validates what we've long known, which is that energy patterns, both heavy and light, are transmitted through time. So I'd like you to grab your journals today. I know I invited you to bring a journal and a candle. And if you have those, you could pull them out. If you don't have a journal, you could just grab a sheet of paper or just make note of these in your mind. I'd like you to think about your own lineage. And we're going to take it one at a time because it can be a little confusing to look at both sides. So we're going to start with our mother line. And I'd like you to think about your mother and then just go back through her family and their family as far as you're aware of. If you are aware of your ancestors, many people are aware of their mother, not everybody. And I recognize that. But if you do know your mother and some of her relatives, I'd like you to think about what gifts you might have inherited from them. And if you don't know them, just use automatic writing and just think about what of your gifts might have come from your ancestors. And I'm going to give you some examples. So you might already be writing some gifts, and that's great. But I am going to give you some examples that might unlock you a little bit. Things like survival skills in the face of hardship. Did you gain that from your ancestors? Did you gain your creativity and artistry? A connection to the land or animals or nature? Did you gain any of that from your mother's line? A strong work ethic and perseverance? Did your mother's line bring traditions, rituals, spiritual practices that you still make use of today or you remember fondly today? Music, storytelling, culture. What about a capacity for joy, humor, and celebration? Did that come through to you? What about generosity and a deep love of family? How about intuition, spiritual gifts? These are often passed on quietly, I will say, because for a long time they were not accepted. What about wisdom? wisdom about plants, herbs, farming, healing, anything, books, science. What about resilience in times of loss? What about the courage to start over, migrate, build a new life? What about faith? Faith and trust in something larger than themselves. What gifts do you have from your ancestors? And now that I've given you a few to consider, I'm going to invite you to write them down. And once that's complete for your mother's line, we're going to take a few moments together and just go back through your father's line as well. So just in your own time. And you may come up with some that are not on this list as well. Strength is something that's often passed down to our ancestors were so strong. And I suspect a lot of you have some really beautiful gifts that you've received. In fact, I know you do because I know so many of you, and you're beautiful people. And I know that you've received lovely gifts from your family lineage. I want to just move on because at the same time that our ancestors sent forward these gifts, and they sent them forward willingly and purposefully and with so much love, they unfortunately often had burdens that they didn't mean to pass on. And I think that's an important distinction. They never meant to pass on the burdens. And yet they did. If there was anything unhealed within them, it often came forward. It came forward into us and into our DNA. They carried wounds, and sometimes we still hold those wounds. So I'd like to go through a list of those. And if any of these exist within you that have come from either your mother's or father's line, I realize it's not quite as complicated to go back through both at the same time. I'd just like you to write them down. So go ahead and write any burdens that you're aware of. And I'll list a few just to open up your thoughts on that. You might have inherited that fear of not enough, that scarcity or poverty mindset. That's really common because so many of our ancestors went through world wars. So many of them went through famines and droughts and stock market crashes and things that we fortunately haven't had to go through in my lifetime. So many of our ancestors had grief and unprocessed loss because there wasn't a lot of guidance about how to process this loss. You just simply, out of necessity, had to keep going. That might have been passed on to you. Another really common one is patterns of silence. We don't talk about that. And I've heard that from my mother. You're supposed to keep those things within your family. You're not supposed to talk about it. And so patterns of silence have come forward through the lineage. We've often had oppression, persecution, and even marginalization that has come forward. There's also been a lot of patterns of control, dominance, or patriarchy. And this is just a part of an unhealthy patriarchal society. It has nothing to do with the divine masculine, which is very healthy. It has to do with the toxic or unhealthy masculine that has been informing our patriarchy. So maybe those patterns of control and dominance and patriarchy are within you. Another really common one, though, guys, is addiction, abuse, violence. And it's unfortunate, but it's there. It's one of those things we often don't talk about, but it's still there. I know it's something that has come through my family lineage that I have used Reiki to help clear. There can be a fear of visibility or speaking the truth, especially among the women in your lineage. Look back and see if that exists. There can be distrust, secrecy, or shame. We can also have trauma from war, famine, or displacement, health conditions rooted in stress or malnutrition or anything really, slavery. We can have limiting beliefs like life is hard, dreams aren't for us, get your head out of the clouds, things that were true in our ancestors' generation, but are less true for us today. In fact, they're often not true for us today. Depends on what we choose to look at. We can also have burdens of responsibility, just carrying that weight of generations. We can have fragmented family bonds, estrangements. One of the things that I really had to go back and heal for myself, my grandmother was a single mother in the 40s when that wasn't cool. She was an unwed mother, and she never revealed the name of my mother's father. And it worked for my mother's father. He became a very upstanding member of the community and, in fact, became a politician, believe it or not, which I only recently found out. And yet, for my grandmother, it was very difficult in the 40s. She, basically had to leave town in order to find work and send money back as my great grandparents raised my mother. So I really had a lot of resentment toward him. And that was something that I realized just recently, just this weekend, as I was working on this, that I had to let that go. And in fact, I went in and had a conversation with him, and he said that it was meant to be that way. That was how it was written. It was meant to be. And so these are some things that can still impact us. And there's also can be a sense of danger, a felt sense of danger, even in safety, just especially depending on where your family lineage came from. And if they were involved in wars, which many of them were. So, before we move into our meditation today, I'd like to just give you a few tools. And if you're still writing some of these, some of your gifts, some of your burdens, that's okay. And some of them may come to you later, just in a regular meditation as you're walking, as you're living your daily life. And as they do, that's fantastic. Just become aware of them and you're going to know how to process them. You can listen to this meditation again, you can just give them Reiki, but here's some things you can do just on a daily basis, on daily self practice that you can do to help heal some of this. You can simply place your hands on your heart during and your solar plexus during self sessions and invite Reiki to flow back through your lineage, releasing any burdens that you may have carried. You can use the distance symbol to send Reiki across time and space. That's going to heal ancestral events and patterns. You can use the Usui Master symbol to illuminate your own soul and your lineage with the highest vibration of Reiki, their highest expression of themselves. And with Healthcare Reiki, we've recognized that illness or imbalance can often have roots in family and ancestral history. So, Healthcare Reiki and regular Reiki can help lift the weight so that healing can occur. And I'd just like to bring you now to just a couple of the things that really stood out to me from Rebecca Campbell's teachings. One is that we're simply not alone. We stand in a long line of ancestors that are both behind us and ahead of us. And if we really think about it, because time and space are human constructs, we all technically exist at the same time. I want you to be aware of this is my own teaching, it's just coming through right now, just that our ancestors did the best that they could for us, and they were not perfect. And I keep going back to my own parents and recognizing places where I felt that they maybe didn't handle things the best and that they weren't perfect. And yet I also am very aware that I was so lucky to have the caring, involved parents that I did have. And I look at my own children and how they've pointed out all of the mistakes my husband and I have made, which there's a long list of those as well. And yet they have an appreciation for us. In fact, as a family, my son is home now, and the five of us are able to be all together. And it's one of our favorite things. We try to find as many opportunities as possible to be all together as families, and we communicate regularly because it's fantastic. And yet, even in that, and even trying the best that we could, and even thinking that we were doing a great job, they pointed out several places that we could have done better. I think that's really interesting. But one of the really neat things that Rebecca Campbell talks about is that our souls chose the lineage that they did for a reason. Sometimes that reason is to heal or break cycles and carry forward the gifts and the wisdom that we received from our ancestors. And honoring our ancestors means saying thank you for what they gave while refusing to carry what is not ours. They don't want us to. So that's easy. Healing this way allows the ancestral lineage to heal, and it's just simply an enormous act of love for the that we can give to our parents and their parents and theirs. And it's also a gift for any who will come after us. We are, according to Rebecca Campbell, considered the bridge generation, chosen to weave the old into the new, to release the pain, and to magnify the gifts. So, as we're preparing to go into our meditation today, there's a couple of simple journal prompts, questions that I'd like to give you. And the first one, and it's okay if you just go back and circle a few from before, or you may come up with something completely different. The first question I want to ask is, what gifts from my ancestors feel alive in me today? I don't know about you guys, but I got several things that weren't even on the list. Things like charm and wit and work ethic and beauty and love of family and love of life. So, whatever comes through for you, go ahead and write that down now. And we're going to follow that by asking the question. And I'm sorry, I hope I'm not rushing anyone, but if I am, just take your time and stick with whatever you're doing. What burdens am I carrying that are not mine? And so go ahead and make a list of any burdens that you're carrying that aren't yours. And as you're writing down your burdens, I'd like you to just ask yourself, am I ready to set them down? And once again, I'm just going to share a bit from my list because, again, it was quite different from what I listed above. I find each time I do this exercise, a little bit more comes through. And one is just that sense of responsibility, a sense of suffering, religious trauma, certainly the money and scarcity mentality, people pleasing, anxiety, stress, and insecurity. So there can be other burdens as well that you may have a different list. Whenever these lists, and it's okay if it's not complete, you can always revisit this. Whenever it is somewhat complete for you, I'm just going to invite you to take your candle if you have one and go ahead and light it now. And this candle is just an acknowledgement of the gifts of our ancestors, gratitude for all that they've given us. And one of the things we can do that honors our ancestors is just incorporate some of the traditions, food, music, prayers into our healing rituals. So if there's anything of that nature, any prayers, healing, food that you wish to say, to speak, to invoke, to consider, go ahead and bring that in now. And there is an affirmation, a daily Reiki affirmation that you can use. I honor the gifts of my ancestors and I release their burdens with love. I am free to live my soul's path. I honor the gifts of my ancestors. I release their burdens with love. I am free to live my soul's path. Another thing that you can always do is offer Reiki to any family photos or heirlooms. That blesses the lineage as well. And now, finally, before we begin our meditation, I'd like you to have a look back through your lists of gifts and burdens. And I'd like you to circle one, two, or three gifts. What gifts do I accept? And also 1 to 3 or more burdens. What burdens do I lovingly release? And maybe you accept all of them. That's okay. And maybe you release all of them. That's also okay. But if you'd like to focus on 1 or 2 in this session and then maybe 1 or 2 at a later time, that can be an extremely effective way to fully release the burden. So if you have, say, maybe a bigger burden that you've been carrying, you can focus just on that. This is completely up to you. And now I'd like to invite you to join me in our meditation today. We're going to journey together into the heart of our ancestry. So go ahead and cue up your music, just getting it ready to play. And before we do hit play on our music, again, we're starting with Rebecca Campbell, Arms of the Mother, moving to Unbound, Forever Unbound, and then the Great Mother chant. Just go ahead and bring your hands to Gasho once more. Invite Reiki to flow through you now, just connecting you with the love of the earth beneath you and the light of Source above, just aware of that beautiful channel that we already created. And just feel that Reiki pouring through your crown into your heart, down into your body, into the earth, and up through the earth, through your heart, all the way up into the heavens. Imagine that it's going all the way into the center of the earth, the earthly fire, the earthly divine flame, groundwater, the bedrock. And just feel yourself very grounded in the safety and support. And you can go ahead and cue up your music now, and we'll begin. Just placing your hands comfortably on your body, wherever you feel guided, and breathe. Go ahead and imagine this long line of ancestors stretching out behind you, reaching back through time. Feel their presence, their strength, their love, and their sacrifices. I invite you to just close your eyes and breathe in their gifts as you allow your heart to fill with gratitude. And we'll remain here for several breaths together. Take one more deep breath and turn around and say hello to your mother line. Just noticing each of them, those that you know and are aware of, and those that you weren't or are not aware of, that you never knew. You can smile and wave at them. You can embrace them if it feels right to you. Notice that your mother line might be slightly to your left. Turn to your right now and say hello to your father line. Same thing, some of them that you know and some of them that you don't. Let them know that you're happy, that they're here, and that you appreciate being that bridge generation that can release all of our burdens. As you release them for yourself, you release them for them as well. And although that channel that we created is entirely your own, we can send Reiki to them and invite them to participate in the healing. And just taking a moment to be aware of the gifts they've passed on to you, that resilience, wisdom, creativity, love. And with each inhale, just draw those gifts deeper into your heart. Whispering a quiet thank you for each one as Reiki begins to magnify these blessings within you. And you can nod to your ancestors in your mother line, in your father line, saying thank you for your gifts. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your wishes for me. Even if you couldn't express your love, thank you. I know that the love was there underneath the stress, underneath the burdens that you carried, underneath the addictions. Thank you for the love, for the gifts. The time might not have been right for them to express their gifts. And that's what you can do for them. Take a moment to consider the importance of these gifts in your life and therefore the importance of having chosen the lineage that you did. This beautiful lineage that led to the creation of the beauty that is you. Recognize that, appreciate that. They do. And yet it's something we often don't appreciate about ourselves. And now notice gently the burdens that they carried. The fear, the scarcity, the silence, the grief, all of the things that you wrote down earlier. See these burdens as heavy stones that were placed in your hands to carry. With love, I invite you to acknowledge the weight of these burdens, of each stone. You may even see them coming to place the stones. And I invite you to just acknowledge the weight and one by one, place the stones onto the earth at your feet, allowing Reiki to transform them into light, feeling the heartbeat of the earth, your connection with the earth. Some of the stones are going to be absorbed into the earth. Some of them are going to be transformed, transmuted. And with each stone that you set down, Feel yourself becoming lighter and lighter as the burdens are released from you. You may notice a big pile of stones at your feet. That's all right. They've been released from you. They're being returned to source where they can be healed all the way back to their source. And some of the stones may be burdens you were never even aware of. Release those too. And we'll remain here together for several breaths today. And just notice that Reiki, as it moves back through the line of your ancestors, that they too are unbound, and it blesses them with peace, forgiveness, and healing. Maybe you see their faces light up with joy, with relief, but it's also okay to just focus on your own healing. You may notice how this healing ripples forward, blessing your children, your grandchildren, all those who come after you, releasing them from these burdens, addictions, trauma, stress, scarcity. Allow Reiki to take care of you for you. And that includes taking care of your ancestors and descendants. If any of the burdens may seem to be lingering, let them know that you release them with love back to the Creator. Even if they caused you injury, you hold them no malice, no harm. Maybe there are additional burdens that you notice within you that you have accrued through the process of living your life. You can set those down too. They need not move forward. They need not remain with you. Feel your heartbeat align with the heartbeat on the earth, and place your hands on your heart. And you may wish to use the following affirmation now. I accept the gifts of my ancestors. I accept their wishes for a better life for me. I release their burdens with love, and I appreciate that they did their best. And I appreciate all the difficulties that they had to go through. I invite Reiki now to guide my lineage into wholeness and peace. I'm just feeling the Reiki energy settle around all of us. I invite you to take a deep breath now and just slowly come back to this moment. Carrying with you the energy of gratitude just for today. I will be grateful. And also the energies of freedom and light. And just coming back in your own time. I'd like to thank you all for journeying into your ancestry with me and with Reiki today. I think that as we heal and we heal the ancestors, it impacts the energy of the earth. And so this is just so important. Every time you work to heal yourself, to reveal your wholeness, your truth, your authentic self, you free not only yourself, but your entire lineage. I thank you today for the work that you do. This is a blessing for everyone. Thank you. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for being the beautiful light that you are in the world. Until next time, namaste.